Now in part 1 we prepared our 3D ready for removing the shadows. So I'm now going to show you how to actually remove the shadows. So the first thing to do, select a face somewhere on the terrain and turn it to a none texture. And now we need to go round and select each section on our object, click extrude and just tap the extrude button on the section, and this will create more of the none texture around the edge of the section, and just work our way round each section of our 3D and extrude each one. Now I need to do a roof section. Extrude that. And the last section of the roof I don't need to extrude because it's separate from all the other sections now, because we've extruded all the others around it. It's on its own, it doesn't need to be extruded at all. It's already isolated. So we've now created faces of none texture between all of the sections of our building, and these are now what's creating these shadows. So I'm just going to sharpen our edges again, because the extrusion will have destroyed a lot of our sharp edges, and also the edges we split and rotated have also affected the sharp edges, so I just need to sharpen them again. So again, select, control and select to remove the ones that aren't in the building. And sharpen. We now can't see the none textures in our building, but it's not a problem. And I'll zoom out a little bit. So now we need to select all the faces that are none in our building, and that's why we've placed this none texture here. If we go to the face select, we can use our old friend all of type again, which is really a useful multi-purpose tool. And if I select the none texture that we've created here, it must have also automatically selected every none face that's in our building here. We can't see them, but they must be all selected because we've used the all of type. So now we'll be able to delete them all. Before we do though, we need to deselect this face outside, because we don't want to delete this face or we'll create a hole in our actual coarse mesh. So I'm going to go to drag select and just deselect that, but the rest will still be selected in here. Now as soon as I click on the delete button up here, all of these shadows will disappear. So here we go, and bingo, a completely deshadowed 3D with perfect sharp edges. Now there's only one problem that may occur. If the 3D is going to be in play, we've at the moment got a hole under our building. And because links tends to be a bit buggy, there's every possibility that sometimes the ball will actually travel through a face rather than bounce off it. You'll have probably noticed that if you play with tournament objects on links, quite often the ball can get stuck inside a tent or a stand because the ball actually passes through the thing rather than bouncing off like it should. So if the 3D that we've created with this method is going to be in play, we really need to fill up the hole and replace this texture with either a hazard texture or a free drop texture. That way, if the ball gets inside, the ball will be able to be dropped again. So I shall first get rid of this none texture. We can turn that back to rough now because we don't need it anymore. So to get at the hole, we need to select the 3D we've created. So I'm just going to go face, box select. In the same way I did with the edges, I'm just going to select everything and then hold Control down to deselect the faces that aren't actually part of the building. This will mean I can now just go move on the Z axis, and I can pick up our building and put it up in the sky. Out the way. And there's our hole. Now we've already learned how to repair mesh, so I'm just going to stitch that back up. It'll be quicker if I remove some of these verts. I'll turn the vert display on because we're going to need to see them. Makes it easier to repair. But if I get rid of these 4 verts in the middle here, there'll be less faces to have to repair, so I'll just select these 4 first, delete them off, and now we just need 2 faces to repair it. So we'll go face, create face, and I'll click on the 3 points to create a face, and then the other 3 to create the other face. I shall split that edge, and I can now face this with any texture I like. For now I'll just turn it into concrete, as that's a free drop anyway. And the edges, if I sharpen the edges in the middle, that will push out our texture to the perimeters, and I could even expand it. If I go to scale, maybe make this a little bit bigger than it was, so there's a bit of a surround for my building. And now all I have to do is move the building back down. So again, if I go face, move the camera down low, I can grab the whole thing in one, click move, and I can just lower it down back where it's going to live, and maybe just under the surface. A fraction. And there's our building, shadow free and ready to be mapped and textured with bricks and windows and roof tiles and whatever.